All right, here we are. We are at the top of the hour. So welcome everybody. Welcome to our second community practice call of the year. My name is Nicolette and I'm your moderator for the call. I will be your support, your kind of core support for the call, and I'll be helping to keep things roll along. So these community practice calls, those of you who have been on community support calls in the past, they used to be 60 minutes. They're now 90 minutes because we wanted to deepen the offerings. They're free offerings, but we wanted to make it so that you actually could leave with a practice in your pocket that you can take with you and continue on your journey into depth of love and consciousness and pleasure and all the everything. So we're actually going to give you practices that you can take with you. And this month's theme is the principles of masculine and feminine embodiment. So we'll unpack some of these concepts of masculine and feminine. And I think a lot of people have different ideas of what that is and what's embodiment and what does it mean to embody the masculine or embody the feminine and what does that matter? And don't we all have it? And so all those questions can be brought into this container, as well as we do have a Q&A where you can ask any questions about what's happening in your life. And it will be folded into the theme, but also will address whatever you have going on. We love having you on video. We will make this call public on YouTube and in our virtual workshop, and a little clips on our Instagram. So if you're comfortable being on video, we love it, but just know that you may have your little square might be on one of those platforms. If you ask a question and you're on camera, again, just knowing that you'll be on camera on those platforms, totally fine if you want to turn your camera off and ask with your video off or use a pseudonym. I'll just call you whatever name I see in front of me. So we want you to be able to be comfortable. So however you do that, but just know that that is how we put this out here because we unabashedly want this to be accessible to our full community. The chat thread is there for you. You've already started using it. It's great. We love to have it there for you as a way of continuing the building of community. So it's a place to offer support to one another, to encourage one another, to respond to what's happening. It's not a place to ask questions to John. He is staying live with whatever's in front of him, so he's not going to be answering questions in the chat. However, myself and some of the other kind of lead program assistants from our programs can support in there if you do have like a follow-up question or you're like, what was said, what did he just say, or something like that. We can help with you in that way. Otherwise, it is not a place to to like offer coaching or any kind of advice or resources or things like that, unless you ask a person permission. But we want to otherwise just have it a place of encouragement and support. If you do have resources or a piece of advice to offer someone, if you ask permission, they say yes, go for it. This is a free call. We appreciate your support of Claire's Place Foundation, which is an organization created by John's daughter, but it is there for children with cystic fibrosis who are still struggling during this time. And so I will put the chat in there for Claire's Place. If you are able to donate, we would very much appreciate it. And I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, you can chat with me privately and happy to support throughout the call. Otherwise, I'll turn it to John. Oh, actually, wait, I have one more piece I need to tell you, which is how you can ask a question. And I see that someone already started this. So if you have a question to ask during the Q&A, you can do that by raising your hand. And if you have the new Zoom, then you do that through reactions. If you down at the bottom of your screen, there's a reactions button, you'll see raise hand. Otherwise,
where do we want the screen? We're getting started.
Oh, we gotta mute someone. I'm gonna mute you.
Or have it.
All right. So yeah, so you can hit the raise hand button in your reactions. There's also a place in chat if you have an older version, but I can help you out if you need help with that. All right, I'm gonna turn it to John.
Like we got some muting that needs to happen. Just be mindful, guys, of your mute etiquette. right? As people are walking around, I know not everybody's sitting in front of their computer. Hi, everybody. It's good to be back. It's good to be home. I've been in Kauai for a couple of months. I'll let you do that, Nicolette. Do we have everybody muted as they come on? Just checking. All right, cool. All right. So as Nicolette mentioned, this is a free call, but I'm forever, going to ask for people to support my daughter's foundation. Many of you know my late daughter, Claire, had cystic fibrosis and died of complications from a lung transplant a couple of years ago. And the foundation that she started helps kids and families with cystic fibrosis. So I dare you to go on that website and not want to give a lot of money, because those kids are so special, and they, with COVID, are fucked. They have been just unable to do much of anything. So more than ever, that's all we ask. If you feel inspired to do it, if this is valuable to you, then just donate to Claire's Place. Okay, masculine, like Nicolette mentioned, there's a lot of confusion around these concepts of masculine versus feminine embodiment, right? And why is that needed? Haven't we grown past that? Isn't that just, aren't the terms masculine and feminine just remnants of the hegemony that we're now trying to shed ourselves from? Yes and no. Yes, all of that is true. And yet my intention in using these terms still is to reclaim them in a relational space, to reclaim them as part of ourselves in a language that we all kind of understand. I could come up with any words, I suppose, and people have throughout the years, yin and yang, and Shiva and Shakti, and alpha and omega, and structure and flow. I mean, any polarities that describe the natural phenomenon of the universe could be used. So these terms, use other terms if these have charge for you, but I'm using the framework that I learned from David, and I'm using these terms to reclaim them for relational experiences, both sexual experiences, emotional experiences, romantic experiences, but also our relationship with everything. Right now we're in relationship, aren't we? You're in relationship with me and with everybody on this call, and maybe the person, somebody else in the room next to you. You're in relationship with them, whether you want to be or not, or whether you know them or not. And so how you're relating right now is impacting them. Everybody with me? Like, we're always relating. We're always relating, even in the midst of, I was hiking in this kind of lone jungle forest the other day, and I was in relationship with that forest, even though it was just me and the forest. And so we're always in relationship. And what these concepts are meant to do, and these practices are meant to do, for those of you who haven't done a workshop or a program with me, these concepts are meant to expand your capacity in both directions. So if, for example, you are masculine by nature, and there's a spectrum, right? So there's a spectrum. Let's call this spectrum, on one end is uber masculine, basically the most natural masculine phenomena in the universe that I know of is the black hole, right? Just heavy nothingness. Doesn't get much more masculine than that, right? Heavy nothingness. Maybe there's some physicist here who would debate me on this, but for the sake of just making an example, right? And then you have this spectrum of something like that to, say, mountain, right? Which isn't quite as heavy and still as black hole, but moving on a spectrum. And then you might have, large redwood tree, and then you'd move along the spectrum. And, on the other end of the spectrum is something like starlight, right? Starlight on the uber feminine side of the spectrum. And so then as you move towards the center of the spectrum, you know, it might get a little denser, right? You know, all the way to say swaying bamboo. So you can figure swaying bamboo versus mighty oak, right? You can feel the natural masculine and feminine energetics in both of those. Yeah, you guys with me? I don't want to lose anybody in the first 5 minutes. So we all have that. We all have that within us. And embodiment practice is meant to expand on each side of the spectrum so that we can flow like water or like starlight. We can radiate starlight out our fingers, man or woman, or however you identify. And we can also ground and root and hold like a mountain or like an oak. And our bodies are the templates for these, or, you know, that our bodies become the place where this all happens. So on this spectrum of, you know, uber masculine to uber feminine, matching natural phenomena, we have our bodies, right? And each of us has kind of an imprint of where we land on that spectrum, right? So I know a lot of men, I happen to be one of them, who actually who skews a little more towards the feminine naturally. Like my emotional body's a little more feminine. I was raised by all women. So I skew towards the feminine naturally. So I'd say my natural state is more 60-40 feminine, masculine, right? But I've learned how to develop incredible amounts of masculine capacity. You guys with me? Right? And some women, right, might be, you know, might have the opposite. They're actually, their imprint is somewhere around, and it's a combination of your cultural, your epigenetics, your cultural upbringing, your childhood, the way you were raised in your family, and how you've grown up, right? You get kind of a natural home base, right? But we have an imprint on this spectrum that is kind of our natural state. Yeah, just raise your hand if you're with me. You guys with me so far? So you have like some guys, some men are like uber masculine, like they're fucking dense and they're more the texture of the mountain than of swaying bamboo, right? And vice versa for women, right? So we all have this natural state, and what's important to recognize is what that state is. Like, you know, some men I know, including myself, I had a hard time when my teacher said to me the first time, like, you know, you have a feminine emotional body. I was like, fuck you, man. I've been doing these practices for years. You know, I can sit still for 2 hours and, you know, and then I realized, like, yeah, that's right. I do. So there's also great gifts to that, right? I have massive amounts of intuition, and I have a real deep capacity to feel, and I have a deep capacity to transmit love and pleasure through my body, right? So I had to get right with where I'm at with no judgment, right? Some people, I hear it all the time from women, I'm too masculine, or and I hear it all the time from men. They don't usually say I'm too feminine. They'll talk about too reactive, or they'll talk about not being able to control their emotions. Or, you guys know what I'm talking about? You guys, you know, you lose your shit. That's your feminine, right? So where we are on this spectrum, then we get to determine what we want to develop. So let's say you were born let's say that you were born, you were a man born as a really, so let's go with women. Let's say you were a woman who was, whose natural radiance and sparkliness was not celebrated. Your achievement was celebrated, or your ability to get shit done was celebrated. Any women relate to this, right? Like that's what was celebrated in you, right? So your masculine was celebrated as a child. So your body's going to take the shape, what we get rewarded for and reinforced, we start to do more of, right? Because we're love-driven, especially if you're feminine in nature, you're a love-driven creature. So if I get love, your feminine will be like, I get more love for being more masculine. So I'm going to be more masculine. I'm going to achieve. I'm going to be directed. I'm going to be, yeah, it's making sense, ladies? I know I constantly get this. So so you may have that certain part of masculine capacity in your nervous system, and it's fine. It's great. As long as there's no judgment and there's massive amounts of awareness of what's true for you. I have massive capacity to direct and clear and da, 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 da. And I want to develop this whole spectrum of myself. Okay. Same thing, same thing for men. Or this is really gender. It's non-gender specific. We're very fluid now. We're getting more and more fluid every generation that comes through, right? And so somebody who identifies as binary might naturally skew somewhere, on that spectrum, 55-45 or 50-50 or wherever it is, or more one direction or the other. They get to choose to be more artful as a human being and a lover and a relationship artist, what they want to develop. Okay, is everybody with me thus far? That these are skill sets. Like if I said, if I'll say something for the men, like, how many men play basketball or no basketball or soccer, football, works the same thing. Okay. All right. So in basketball, if you're right-handed, you shoot right-handed or you kick right-handed in, let's say, football for our Australians and Europeans here. If you develop a left, you're much more talented. You guys know what I'm saying? If you don't have a left hand in the NBA, you're fucked. You're fucked. You can't go to your left. If you can't shoot with your left foot, even though you're right-footed, if you haven't developed that skill, you are not a complete player. I just needed to give the masculine, metaphor here. So to develop yourself as a complete player, right? For those of you who are masculine identified, you need to develop both, right? Otherwise you're in the minors or the G League or whatever the fuck they call it here, for the NBA. So we're all in this place where we're coming to grips with where we are, and then we're choosing consciously to develop more of ourselves. And when we develop more of ourselves, amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. We're able to transmit love more. We're able to feel deep into consciousness more. We're able to hold more energy. We're able to give more energy. We're able to emote with structure. We're able to feel each other more powerfully. Yeah, you with me? So the more that we expand these capacities, they are actually the capacities that train us to be more in relationship with the moment now. So you could feel the ground. If you trained enough in this, right now you could feel your sacrum plunging into the ground, the soles of your feet feeling the earth, the space behind you, the person next to you, and everybody on this call, all at the same time. That's right. That's the kind of skill set that we're talking about. Awareness and feeling. Let's just be real simple here. Awareness, masculine, feeling, feminine. Our awareness and feeling, moment to moment. Okay. So the feminine practices, and we're only going to be able to get into a tiny bit today. And I'll take whatever questions you guys like, but I wanted to give this as a framework to really consider. So the feminine practices are the practices that allow your body to attune to the pulse of the universe, of life, of nature. So you are the swaying bamboo. There's a part of you. Men feel this too, yeah? If you really tuned into it, if I said, feel the wind, men, you could feel, there's a part of you that could feel the wind. That's your feminine, right? So we're tuning ourselves to the pulse of life in feminine practice. We're tuning ourselves to the pulse of love, which is infinite and unchanging. It's always changing, but it's infinite and it's always there. Yeah. It's never not a pulse of energy moving through the universe. I mean, I imagine at some point that'll happen, but not in our lifetimes, most likely. So that pulse is always there. Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, there is the great nothingness or stillness that is behind that pulse. So if you go and sat on a river and you looked at the river, the Zen Buddhists do this. They'll say, they'll enter Zen, or a state of meditative nothingness through a space like a river, which has all kinds of stuff happening. So underneath the flowing river, there's a stillness. Right? In the core of your heart, there's a stillness. Can most of you feel what I'm talking about? Like there's a part of you that has never changed. There's a part of you that is still, there's a part of this moment that's unchanging. And there's a part of this moment that's changing fully. There's a part of space. Now they've proven this, right? Space is basically made up of space, of nothingness and energy. That's it. That's it. Nothingness and energy. That's the whole fucking universe right there. And so the more identified with the nothingness, the stillness, the more our bodies are in that space of nothingness, moving slower, speaking slower, grounded more, stiller, the more we're in the masculine practice. Okay? So those practices, and those who are in my programs know this, there's sort of infinite possibilities of ways to practice both of those polarities, infinite possibilities through the body. As you develop as sexual practitioners, and here's where you want to get, one partner will trust the other partner to hold the masculine completely so she can completely release her masculine and just be the feminine. Now, this happens in advanced practice. If you're not advanced enough to do this, it will be a shit show. I've just seen it too many times now. Too many people are rushing to that point and not actually being able to get there, right? That's another story, so I'll leave that one. So ultimately, we want to get to a place where we can completely relax one or the other and trust a partner with it. But that's not most of life. That's not most of life. Those are very specific moments, sublime, beautiful moments, incredible moments. But 99% of our life is this beautiful merger of feeling and awareness. And so basically the whole point of this work, and I'll shut up in just a minute, basically the whole point of this work is to develop your feeling body and your awareness capacity so that they merge and you become more available to the moment, to your relationship with everything. Okay. Now I know you might be thinking like, how's that going to make, how do I make more money? How do I get the love I want? How do I get laid? Like, how does that, how does that work? Right. From that place, like, how do I get my partner to appreciate me? How do I get them to show up? And all of those things, I know it might not seem clear right now, but every single one of your questions, I promise, the answers are in what I just talked about, in some combination of that practice. 100% of your answers will be in some version of what I just laid out. And that's why we practice embodiment, because our heads will basically repeat the survival strategies that we needed to make it through life, but our bodies don't lie, and our bodies can be co-opted. We change the body and the mind follows. I mean, you could argue that you change the mind and the body follows, but really doesn't quite happen that way. The body's much more powerful. Like how many of I'm not going to get made a decision that you're not going to get upset about something that your partner does and then they do it and you get upset. Right there. That just tells you your mind did not change that situation. Okay. So I want to take some of your questions. I know that was a lot, and don't worry about understanding all of it. Maybe you understood all of it. Maybe you didn't. Just take what you got, leave the rest. If you want more information on those things, you could always join the virtual workshop for a few days and binge on a bunch of products that we do that has that stuff for free. So there's a lot more content out there if you need it. And I'll take whatever questions you need. But I just want to make sure before we do that, does everybody kind of get the gist of that concept? we all have masculine, we all have feminine. You know, on ones we all have a baseline, right? And that baseline is all perfect. There's nothing to change. There's nothing wrong with where you are. You get to choose what you want to expand, just like you get to choose what kind of colors you want to paint with when you're a kid. You get to choose, like, I want orange, I want green. No, I don't want red. I want orange and green. Go away, right? So you get to choose. Okay. I went on a little longer. I haven't been able to talk. I've been like in silence for most of the last 2 months. So I guess I needed to spew.
Right. Well, we're going to jump off with Sebastian. And unmute yourself and ask John your question.
Very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So first of all, thank you very much, John. Like when I discovered your message, it was like I found something within me that was there, but I didn't know about. And it really started like speaking to me on a very deep level. So I really dug into it and started breathing practices and doing my work every day. And since then, like a lot of things changed, and I have a question about that.
Sure.
Like there were some like very fascinating moments with the feminine in women, but more fascinating to me is like are different situations. Like for example, I'm standing at a pedestrian light and I'm listening to music, and all of a sudden, like the voice is so beautiful, there's so much sadness in it, and underneath so much joy, and it just hits me. And like all of a sudden I feel I have the capacity to just be with it and let it rush through me, and I'm standing at a pedestrian light and like tears running down my face, and a thought pops in like, I'm the freak here now, but I can just hold it and just be there, right? Or the other day, I was eating a slice of lemon, and all of a sudden it looks so juicy, and it's like I have an almost intimate moment with a melon, and just be with it and just watch how it happens and how it fills me up. And the fascinating thing is, at the same time, I see like thoughts popping up like, okay, there's more feminine energy. Will this energy test you like women test you as well? Like some mistrust. Or I have more desire to eat more, ejaculate more, watch more movies, like numb me in a certain way. So my question is like, what's your point on this, and like how can I work with this resistance coming up?
Okay. Just do you mind if I work with you a little bit just for the call, right? So where would you say you fall on that spectrum that I described in terms of masculine, feminine spectrum? Where's your natural home?
Body-wise, definitely masculine. Emotionally, I would say I have a tendency to feminine. And like, I don't know, like
spiritually, are you more at home in nothingness, or are you more at home in full expression?
Yeah, more nothingness.
Okay. Yeah, great. So me too. That's similar to me. I actually have I didn't get into this, but you have an emotional body, a physical body, a mental body, a sexual body, a spiritual body, right? And each of those has a masculine or feminine sway. So you could feel that he has a feminine emotional body, kind of like me, right? So you're going to be prone to these, like, the gift of it is that you're going to feel more, right? As you expand your practice, and this goes for all of you, so as you breathe more, move more, open the body, open the center channel of the body, start moving sexual energy. So as you guys start doing the practices, that are in the virtual workshop, if you do those, or any of the practices that are similar to what I teach, what's going to happen is you're going to start popping the top off of things in terms of your nervous system and your body. And guess what's going to come up? The places in you that did not the undeveloped places in you. Another way to put that is I could say your childhood wounds, but the places in you that did not learn how to take care of yourself, the places in you that are afraid of relating, the places in you that feel doubtful about yourself. And so people will get into the practices and then these things will come up and they'll be like, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? Well, it was there. It's just your practice kind of cleared it. So what happens is that these practices become purifying and clarifying. And so there's a way to move through that. So that's the meta for what I think is happening with you, right? As you move through stuff, yeah, you're going to have addictions come up. You're going to have, desires come up. You're going to have those things. And they're likely the way that you handled things when you were a kid, right? More food or disappearing, or like for me, I'll disappear. Like I'll want to go be by myself when the shit hits the fan and I'm not aware of the way that's what I did as a kid. I would run off and go be by myself. I'd go to movies by myself. I'd go bowling. I became a really good bowler at 12, 13, right? But that was my coping mechanism for dealing with the stuff that was going on in my family. So those things will come up again. And I'm going to give you a basic practice for this, a basic practice. So let's say the urge to eat a lot or masturbate and ejaculate happens, right? What you're going to do is you're going to feel the urge. So start by sitting or laying on the ground, either one. So you can lay and you want to get super relaxed and alert. So relaxed and alert. Okay. You sit or you lay down and you feel literally the sensations in your body that want to eat or want to have sex or want to ejaculate or want to numb out, right? And this could be true for gamers. If you're a gamer and you're like, I got to play a game, right? Or whatever the numb out thing is, whatever the coping mechanism is. You feel the sensation and then you bring all of your awareness to the sensation and you breathe and you see what your body wants to do from there. So you may make some sounds. You may move. You may shake. You may scream. You may stomp. You may cry. There's something underneath. And your job, your masculine leadership, I'm just going to call it that for you, particularly now, this guy could be talking to a woman. The part of you that is masculine, the leadership for the masculine is about awareness and freedom, using awareness to free something. So you're going to sit, bring your awareness to the sensation in your body, not let your mind drift into blah, 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 but really feel it, breathe, feel it, breathe, feel it, breathe until, so you're merging, you're unifying your masculine and feminine, your feeling and your awareness in that moment, and something will emerge. And that something is the thing that needs to emerge. Does that make sense? So it becomes an embodied meditation. Now, this could be true for anything, for grief, for anger, for whatever. And eventually it becomes the way you have sex. Eventually it becomes that you're like literally the sensation of ... right? It's a community call, so I can't get too graphic, but the sensation gets so much of your awareness, right? And we've all heard that the saying that where our focus goes, repeat it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Energy flows. Everybody heard that? Where our awareness goes, our focus goes, energy flows. That's what we're doing. You're bringing your energy to the sensation that's wanting to move through your body. I know it seems kind of disconnected, but that's how you actually train to become a really good lover. If you're breathing and moving. Now, if you're the moment you start thinking about it and where's this come from? What does this mean? And you make a story about it. I'm so bad. I always want to eat, or I'm so wrong. Why can't I be a good practitioner and not ejaculate? Whatever it is, right? Why can't I? You make a story about it. Then you're in your childhood trauma. You are not in the meditative practice. You're not embodied. You're disconnected from your own heart. You're disconnected from your own body. So does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And it sounds very interesting because it brings it to a level of my body. But like the challenge for me is not to detach from the thoughts I have with these cravings coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's rather that I see that my practice I do every day becomes a little bit kind of shallow. Like I cannot trust it fully because I don't trust the amount of the energy coming up through the practices.
Yeah, so you bring more awareness. The way you ground the energy is you bring awareness to it. You see what I'm saying? It's like if the energy, because you have a lot of energy, like your physical body has a lot of energy too, just like mine, right? Your physical body has a lot of natural energy. You bring awareness to it, and the awareness is like a ground. The masculine awareness is like a ground. So that's why I'm saying you don't just succumb to the energy. You bring awareness to the energy. And then if you breathe, I would start like this, Sebastian. I would lay down or sit down, and you have the feelings, okay, or the sensations, and you inhale, and then you move really slow as the sensation. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you're disciplining the energy. This is masculine practice. You're taking energy, could be sexual energy, could be nervous energy, could be anxiety, could be trauma, could be anything. But you're disciplining your body to hold the structure with your awareness. You with me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you might just move your hand or your toes or your chest. You just move really slow as the sensation. Aware, feeling like the capillaries in your fingers open up, the blood move. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. This is sophisticated practice, but this is the deepest practice to do with these kinds of things that come up. Because the moment we attach a story to them, we're fucked. I'm not just speaking to you. I'm talking to everybody, because everybody does this.
So when I realized this within a breath practice, I drop the practice and go within the movement, or I try to do it simultaneously?
I'll let your awareness choose. There might be some hybrid, but if you're practicing a breath practice and you have all these sensations come up, right? They need to be dealt with. Yeah. So you can either, slow the breath practice down and make it kind of a movement practice as well, until trust your body. Trust your body. Yeah.
Sounds super exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's really beautiful practice to slow down and stay with what's the sensation, all sensation, no thought. Awareness without thought. Sensation without thought. Fuck thought.
All right.
Right. That's my theme for fuck thought, like sensation without thought. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother.
All right. Next we have Chloe. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good. I'm trying to find you. Oh, there you are. Hi, Chloe.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
It's
been a while. Yeah. We talked last year.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to kind of give an update and check in with where I'm at in the same relationship situation.
Okay.
So right around my birthday, so the beginning of the year, he, for the first time ever, put a container around what we're doing, which was, it actually felt really good for him to do that for me. And so basically he said that he is on like a spiritual journey, and that he's given himself until the spring or the summer at the latest to not be attached in a committed relationship so that he can focus on what he needs to do. Great. I was totally turned on when he said it. I was like, oh God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so then I'm good with that. Like, I'm good with what our agreement is.
Just so I'm clear. So he said, hey, I'm doing my own spiritual work. I can't be in a committed relationship, but I care for you and I want us to spend time together. Are you okay with that? And you said, yes, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Just making sure.
Well, to be honest, how it actually went was, I think we should take sex off the table for the time being. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I understand that. And then I was like, I don't know how we're going to spend time together, and that's possible, but if that's what you're saying you need, I'm down, I'm game. And then, as of course, the next time we hung out, he wanted to have sex. So he didn't really stay within what he said he was going to, although he is staying within the container that he set. So something interesting happened though, that when we had sex after that, I realized that this work, like, the shit creeps up on you in the weirdest times. I almost every time that we have sex, he's on top. And that's rare for me in relationships. And like, I've always been on top, at least initially. Always. And with him, I can actually completely surrender, and it feels good not to be in control. And so this time we were playing with something a little different, and I was on top. And it was like, with everything else, I can slow down and just be in the moment and let the flow of everything dictate what happens. But it was like, as soon as I had the ability to be on top, I just went like straight for what I wanted. And it wasn't like I let all of my practice go. Like, it wasn't even, there was nothing there. Right. And he stopped me, and he, without us ever talking about what all of this shit is behind that, he like instinctively knew. And he just said, slow down, baby, I'm not going anywhere. And then a few days later, it just like all hit me that is all about me feeling like if I'm in control, they're gonna go. So I need to just get mine and be done while I can. And he's actually saying like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And even though he didn't stay within the no sex container, he's actually giving me lots of containers that he does stick with, which I've never seen before. So it's like the first time that I get to practice allowing myself to go back into a little bit more of a masculine role occasionally in terms of sex. And it's bringing up all of this stuff about how I do that and why it happens. And it's just curious that it's happening as soon as he's like actually being in his masculine and giving me like direction and a container, all of this stuff in my own masculine starts coming up.
Okay. So how can I help you?
So how can I practice, I guess, like what can I do to be, I guess, a little bit more in control without giving up presence and like taking my time. Does that make sense?
I'm not quite sure I follow. Like, so you want to be in control sexually?
Well, when the moment calls for it, like I feel like I had this moment with him where it was like that was fair play, and it was something that we were both wanting and could engage in, which is a little different for us. And then as soon as that happened, I went straight into this old pattern of like,
yeah, well, we all do that. We all do that. So I wouldn't overthink that. What do you want? Like, what do you want that you're not getting? Or what are you wanting to give that you can't give? You're not giving.
I guess I'm wanting to give more of not a tease, like everything else we do sexually, there's more of a dance to it. And I guess just there's something about me being on top that I feel like the dance gets taken away. And it's just like,
so I'm going to make this super simple. What does he said, slow down, baby.
Yeah.
Okay. And I imagine when he said that, he was with you, like,
yeah,
looking at you, breathing you, with
yeah.
you fully. Okay.
Yeah.
So if he's saying slow down, baby, and you are on top and you slow down and you like let him still direct it, right? The moment you get directive in sex, like you're directing the pace or you're directing the position or you're saying what to do, you're in the masculine.
Right.
Anybody who's directive at any moment is in the masculine. It's okay. It's totally cool. You might, but I don't think that's what you were talking about. Like there was a moment where you got on top and he said, slow down. So you slow down. And then you see what part of you, like what that feels like to slow down. Now, if you want to take control, then it has to be, I don't say it has to be, but the most elevated place to do it is to take control so that you will bring him closer to God, so that he's more available to life, so that you lead him to enlightenment.
Yeah.
Which is different than you taking control because you want to get off first or you want to, you know what I mean?
Right.
Totally different. So what you want to take control for is the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Other same works for any masculine, right? If you want to take control in sex, what are you taking control for? And if it's not to lead your partner into the deepest experience of divine, what the fuck? It's normally just so you get what you want, right? You know, so, I mean, it's some version in between. Most of the time, people aren't actually thinking in that way of like, I'm going to ask you to just consider this maybe, and maybe you write it down after this call, but you taking control to lead him to the divine, what would that look like to you? Might it be tying him up and teasing him until his heart burst open? Might it be, I mean, there's all kinds of art you could do. You could tie him up, or you could, hold him down and fuck him really slow. I mean, so slowly that it kills him almost. There's all kinds of ways that you could take control so that you break his heart open to the deepest possible experience. And anything short of that is a diminishment of your gifts.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does that land? Am I taking you in the right direction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in everything else that we do, when I am more in the masculine, that is the energy that I have. It just was something about specifically me being on top that it was just like all of it just went away.
So that's an edge. And for everybody, right? So some people might have an edge with anal sex. Some people might have an edge with blowjobs or swallowing. Some people might have an edge with rough language. Whatever your edge is, right? You know it's an edge because you close and you move away from it, or you have some kind of experience where you want to take control. That's how you know it's an edge. So there's no problem, whatever your edge is, any of those edges, all of those edges are fine. Part of the practice is to become aware, like, oh, that's an edge. You're aware that's an edge. That's your masculine. I'm aware that's an edge. Right now, I'm helping you as the masculine bring awareness to this. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's awareness. Then you bring your art, your practice, your love, your feminine to that edge, and you bring the awareness and the art together in that moment to create deep practice, to free him.
Yeah.
In some way, to free him, right? And if you do that, I'm talking to all the feminine practitioners here, if that's the masculine you bring versus fuck me this way, you didn't get the thing, some kind of demand, if you bring that masculine, like stop moving, you actually command him from the place of, I'm going to break your heart right now. It's a whole different experience, right? It's a whole different fucking experience than being told what to do from the masculine that you often bring. Men, do you know what I'm saying? I mean, because women do this all the time. Women will constantly tell you what to do and not recognize that they're telling you what to do. And it basically, if you do it during sex, it's not very inspiring if your partner's masculine. Now, you can do it in a way that, again, like breaks his heart, opens him wide, like brings like so much energy to it. And the key is your intention, right? And if your intention, like you were talking, Chloe, like your intention was kind of like this remnant of your childhood. It was kind of like a indigestion of the childhood that just came through your body, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't something you thought about. It just kind of came through. So that's the way oftentimes it'll happen. We'll have an impulse, especially during deep sex or deep relating, that is meant to protect us from the opening that we're doing, men and women, right? Men will often ejaculate rather than stay with the intimacy. Not any of you guys. You guys are all fuck monsters, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, like that's oftentimes we'll not even know, like that we're kind of doing things to subtly disconnect from the intimacy. So yeah, next time you're on top, here's your homework. He's not on this call, is he?
No.
Okay. Great. So here's your homework. Your homework is to like literally take control from this place of like wanting to take him into the deepest experience of love, knowing love, so that something in him gets freed by your control. That's the sacred masculine in all of us. In all of us. So if I'm talking to the men, the part of you that pulls her hair, right, from the place of wanting to open her heart to a deeper surrender, that's the sacred masculine, right? The part of you that dominates sexually, that's the sacred masculine. You're freeing something in her. I'm speaking to the men now, just so we can get, so I can bring this around. You're freeing something in her, right, ladies? Right? If he does it from that place of I'm freeing you to God, I'm taking you to God. That's different than, do what I want, bitch, or let's get in this position so that I can come, which men and women do. We all do this. We all do this, right? Okay. Do you accept that assignment?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Good. Yeah. Let us know how it goes. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
All right, John, we are at the point that we are going to take a break in our plan.
Okay.
Go forward with that.
Let's take one more question and then we'll take a 5-minute break and come back and do a short practice.
Okay, Aaron, you are up.
Hey, John, can you hear me all right?
I can. I'm trying to find you. Where are you?
Hey.
There you are. There you are. Okay, good. Yeah.
Thank you for this call. Good to be
You're welcome.
So I guess there's just a lot of emotion, like sensation surrounding my question. And I guess I'm trying to navigate a post breakup situation. And I guess how to clear things both for myself and potentially between myself and this person.
This ex of yours?
Yeah, it's basically we've been friends. We're part of a mutual friend group, and we started seeing each other last year, and it was complicated because it was supposed to be a 2-month.
No, wait, but let's not get too into the history because I don't have time.
Yeah.
But so what are you wanting? Like, what's the deepest impulse of your heart? To have no hard feelings, to have a real clean celebration of the love that you shared, to understand each other. Like, what's the deepest impulse running through you for this?
I guess to clear it, like not have hard feelings, because it ended in a very harsh, shitty conversation with wounding on both sides, and I felt particularly because I ended it and it was not received well.
So let me get this straight. You ended it.
Yes.
And then she got angry.
Yes.
And said things.
Yes.
Okay. That's the feminine oftentimes for a breakup. That's the wounded feminine in all of us, and men too. Men will do this too, right? So oftentimes it's not possible to have, so the masculine in you, in me, in all of us wants completion and peace. That's just the way we're wired. Can't we all be friends? There was so much love here. Can't we all have peace? Right? Right? That's the impulse of the masculine in all of us. The feminine is not interested in that. The feminine is not that they're interested in continuing a toxic relationship, but they're not interested in not expressing what's true in their heart. So if what's true in her heart is, I want to scratch your fucking eyes out because you broke up with me when I didn't want to break up, you hurt me, then there's not going to be much reconciliation for a while. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess there is a slight pressure just because of me wanting to reconnect with the friend group. That's like kind of the larger kind of want to.
Right. Right. Which she'll probably feel like, oh, so you want to come back to our friend group, but you don't want to be with me. I mean, I'm just, you know, I'm trying to give you a picture from the feminine prism. So it will be, now I'm sure there's a part of her that's quite capable of a mature breakup. And I think that that's possible, but maybe it's too early. And maybe, you know, the best way to reconcile is to recognize what's true in her and own where she's right. So if you went to her and said, you know what, I don't know what the details were, but I was sloppy with this. I didn't have a clear container. I didn't end it right. I lost, you know, I wasn't, you know, and I can feel, you know, you give her space to tell you what she's feeling, and you recognize it and honor it as right. That's always the first step of a reconciliation with the feminine. right? The moment that you make what she's feeling wrong, or you try to tamp it down, or you try to get to the end of it, that will just, it's like gasoline on a flame. Like, don't tell me that I can't be heartbroken or angry or blah, blah, blah. That's not gonna work.
It's interesting because I think there's still like, also, I'm not fully clear of it. Like, actually, there's a lot of anger, and yeah, it became a unhealthy situation. So there's plenty of like, I have a lot of like basically feminine anger towards her. And
Yeah.
actually, the reconciliation part feels hard because it feels like within the course of our relating, she validates most of my feelings, but I'm very much like available to feel her experience actually. So like that, like, it's almost like I want us to both say sorry, but I feel like I'll like probably never get an apology from her.
You can try, man. You can try, but it might be too early. And I see this with guys a lot, and I know there's women gonna give me stink eye for this one, but I see this more with the feminine. I mean, I see this with the feminine in men and women. So men who have relationships ended on them that they don't want to end, or they aren't ready to end, their broken hearts can get nasty too. Right. And so it's just the feminine in all of us wants to express what we feel when we feel it. Period. And if we are in the masculine, right, if you want to lead a reconciliation from a place of structure and consciousness, and then you have to be willing to hold that. And if you're like, no, I need you to feel my feelings too, and you haven't set up a structure that calls for that, then it's not going to work. So you could, I say you can go in with a reconciliation. And what I always suggest guys do, make an inventory of where you were at fault. Where were you unclear? Where did you negate her feelings? Where did you not lead her well? Where did you mislead her? Where did you play with her heart? Where all this, you just take a ruthlessly compassionate view of yourself, and you go to her and you say, look, here's where I was wrong, but I would like us to be friends. And if you have anything if there's anything that I missed, please tell me. Or if I got something wrong, please tell me. And then you listen. You validate. And then you, right? And then you ask, it probably won't work for you to ask her to now feel yours. And if you're going in with that, like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to validate hers, but she's got to validate mine, it probably won't work. I mean, you can try, brother. It might be too fresh.
Yeah. That feels like really good direction. I guess for my own kind of work, it's like there's this piece of me that's like this codependent part of me, I guess, that's like needing, like, oh, because it ended on a bad note, it's like I need the feminine validation or something. It's like I want to release myself from that.
Right. Now that's great. That's gold, man, because that's the part of you that doesn't know what to do when a woman's angry.
Yeah.
And I totally get that, man. So I totally get that. I've been there in my own nervous system, and that's gold. So that's your work to do first, and literally go into that part of you that is terrified and filled with grief, maybe confusion about and really feel that. And that's your deepest practice right now. If you go into that first and you clear all that, you will more than likely be able to hear her more. But right now, your wound is just talking with her wound. Mm-hmm. Right? Even though you're broken up, it's still two wounds dancing. So when you clear your wound and you really work with it, then you show up and you're like, look, part of this was my wound. Like, I didn't know what to do with your anger. It made me totally freaked out and scared. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't. That's not your problem. you can imagine she'd trust you more from that place. Yeah. Right, ladies? That like you trust, if he led with, hey, my reaction was this wound that I had to work with. That's not you didn't give me that. I'm sorry. Then you're going to trust what he says more. But whenever, just so I can scan this out for the other men on this, when you are going into a reconciliation with somebody who is feminine in nature, gender not really, could be a man too. If you're going into a reconciliation with somebody who's feminine in nature, it's best to go in from the place of taking full responsibility for the dynamic that's occurring. Not that you are fully responsible, but we could argue that, right? Like if you and I were in a men's group together, I bet I could press you and say, where are you fully responsible for her broken heart? Maybe you knew that she was going to get attached, or maybe you knew that, you know what I mean? I don't know. We don't have to get into it, but do you understand there's just a lot more power from you coming from the place and a lot more trustability. And that's what gives you freedom and will ultimately help her trust you, even if she's still hurt. That's my experience.
So for feeling into this, I guess kind of just similarly to that other question of just, would that be kind of just, yeah.
So are you talking about how to work with the wound?
Yeah.
So yeah, go into the wound, feel it, bring awareness to it, feel it, bring awareness to it. Let a sound come, let crying come, let sobs come, let moving come, let a wail come, whatever wants to come, trust it. So you clear that charge. Step one, clear your own charge around it. Step two, take an inventory of where you are responsible for the dynamic that's now kind of toxic, right? And then go to her and say, hey, I want us to be friends. I want us to care for each other, right? And even though I can't be in relationship, it doesn't mean I don't care for you. I want to clear this. Can we do that? Mm-hmm. And that's I just want to give you a structure that's clear enough. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Yeah. And that's good for anybody that's dealing with kind of a toxic, angry situation. Step one, clear your own charge. Step two, where am I responsible? Where am I responsible for the way that this dynamic is broken down? And if, let's say you're a feminine being, like, where are you responsible? Where have you disrespected him or not appreciated him or withheld energy or castrated him? All the things that women do too. You know, men, we're hurting each other unconsciously all the time. And so when we clear our own charge and then take an inventory, basically all that means is I'm bringing awareness to my actions. I'm using my own masculine awareness to write down, like, where am I at fault here? And then if each of us went to reconciliation from the place of, here's where you're right. Here's why you're angry. Here's why I think you're angry. And here's where you're right. Did I get it? That's just a much better play. I mean, we will not be so defensive and we'll feel safe to reveal the truth. You guys with me? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's just basic honoring communication skills, but it's hard. It's hard to take that inventory. It's hard to step out of our story because habit, you know? So you've actually, whatever's happened in you, like you've stilled. Ladies, can you feel that? That he's actually gotten more still and you've actually like found something that is deep in yourself. So whatever kind of you found, that's a really beautiful, trustable place to come to this from.
Thank you.
All right, brother. I hope that works out for you. Yeah. See you soon. Okay, let's take a little break and then we'll come back and practice for a few minutes before I send you on your way. How about 6 minutes, Nicolette? Is that cool?
That's perfect.
Okay, so we'll be back at 15 after the hour. And you're going to need a place. Each of you is going to need a place to stand for a few moments. You're going to stand. So you're going to be standing for this practice. So find a place to stand. I don't need to see you. You just need to be able to hear me. Okay. Boom.
We'll be back in 2 minutes, just letting everyone know again that you'll want to set yourself up so that you can stand and practice. You don't have to be able to see, we don't have to be able to see you. You just need to be able to hear John. So in the next 2 minutes, just make sure you've got that spot where you can stand and practice and still hear John. And I'll repeat this again in another minute. All right, so we're 1 minute away from starting back up. So make sure you have your place where you can stand and practice. We don't have to be able to see you, but you will need to be able to hear John. Just make sure you've got that spot where you can stand and still hear John. And part of testing that, that's why I'm talking, so you can test, make sure that you'd be able to hear from wherever you're going to be choosing to do your practice. And we'll start in about a minute.
Nicolette, I just want to see if I'm going to test some sound here. So let me know if this comes through okay.
Okay.
How is it?
That's good. Will you talk a little bit more over it?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me and the music?
Yes, that's perfect. As long as I'm not talking, which I won't be.
Okay. All right. Good. Stand up, everybody. And here's where so here are the rules for this one, right? Here are the rules. Eyes closed. Eyes closed. So you don't have to worry about anybody looking at you. You don't have to worry about how you look. If you're really freaked out, you can turn off your camera, but you just need to be able to hear me. Still good, Nicolette? Okay. So you just need to be able to hear me, and you keep your eyes closed throughout the whole thing. So I want this to be a really internal practice where we talked about bringing awareness to a part of yourself, to bringing awareness to the part of you that is your feminine, bringing awareness to the part of you that is your masculine, okay? So first thing you're going to do is you're going to bring your feet about hip width apart. I want your eyes closed, and you're going to just begin now to breathe. We're going to start with a bit of masculine, and then we're going to go back and forth, and you get to feel sort of the difference, and then we'll merge them. So start by feeling your feet fully in contact with the earth. If you have no shoes on, you can spread your toes. You can feel the balls of your feet. You can feel the soles of your feet. And begin to deepen your inhale in and out through the nose. And do your best right away to get as still as possible. So try not to fidget. Try not to move. Just take a moment to really ground into the earth. So use the muscles on the top of your feet to press into the earth. Use the muscles of your calves to press down into your feet, down into the earth. Use the muscles on your thighs. And up the chain of muscles going up your body, press down into the earth so that literally you're grounding now into the earth, deepening your breath. So we're just going to take about 30 seconds to a minute to really feel the ground. So the first step in masculine practice is grounding. Grounding. So feel that as if you could press your feet 6 feet down into the earth, as if you could press your sacrum down into the rock or the earth beneath you. So imagine your sacrum pressing down 100 feet, like your spine could shoot like a rod down into the earth. And then feel the root, the base of your heart, as if the base of your heart could press down into the earth, like roots growing out of it. Now feel roots growing out of the soles of your feet, like a tree spreading roots deep. And do all this now so that you can feel the earth beneath you. You can start to tune into the pulse of the earth. So that's the first step, is grounding. The second step is breathing deeply into your belly. So begin now to deepen your breath even more into your lower abdomen without losing the connection to the earth. Trying now to stay as still as you can. It's like a tree. So your arms are down by your side, slightly out. Your feet are straight apart, hip width apart. You're grounding now into the earth from the bottom of your heart, down through your groin, down through your feet. And you're deeply breathing into your belly. Good. So really find your breath and find that combination of deep belly breath and grounding. You're going to want to come up. Lots of times people want to come up into their mind. That's okay. Just go back into the lower body, back into the breath. So consider yourself, we're working into a tree pose, right? This is a Qigong tree pose. So now imagine that your heart could soften. Imagine now that your heart could soften. So you could feel that energy moving up and down through your heart. You can feel everybody else on the call. Maybe your lover's with you. You can feel your lover. Maybe you can feel your partner out in the world. But don't lose your breath and don't lose the ground. So grounding first, belly breath second, heart relaxed. And really feel now through your heart what you love. Maybe call a moment or a scene that you want to happen where you're giving and receiving the deepest love, but do all this without disconnecting from the earth. And then once you've activated your belly, your heart, your ground, I want you to feel into the part of you now that never changes. So find the part of you that is still, even while you're breathing, even while you're grounding, even while your heart is opening, there's a part of you that's still. Even if you can connect to it just a tiny bit. It's the you before you had a name. It's the very deepest core place in your heart that's not beating, that's not moving. Just connect to that. And then looking through your eyes, keeping your eyes closed, but looking through your eyes like you're looking into a distant desert. I want you to now feel out. Feel the room that you're in. So grounded, breathing into your belly, heart relaxed, connected to the core of you, and feeling out. Totally still. Just take a minute. We're going to take a minute, and you're going to forget one of those 5 elements, and that's okay. Just keep bringing them back in. How deep can you breathe? How fully can you ground? How much can you feel the unchanging core of you? How much can you press your awareness into the room or into the space around you? Feel now that for these last few breaths, you could press this practice out of your body and into the space around you. So feel on the exhales, as you exhale, this still presence, this embodied presence, this embodied consciousness is filling every cell of your body and pressing through like an inky mist into the room. So if somebody walked into the room, they'd feel the stillness coming out of your body. They'd feel the depth. They'd feel the groundedness. Just a few more moments. I know it's hard if you aren't used to doing this practice. It takes work. Just so you know, ladies, it takes work. Just take a few more breaths like this now, really grounding into the experience of opening all 5 of these channels. The ground channel, the breath, the heart, the connection, the tether to the infinite, unchanging part of you, and the feeling awareness of everything happening. Like a tree, like the leaves on the tree can feel the sun and the wind and the rain. The roots go down into the earth, the tree rises to the sky, and it looks completely still, but there's all this energy moving up and down the core of it. All right. And then very slowly now, I want you to bring your hands up above your head like they could reach for the sun. So bring your hands above your head. Good. And I'm going to begin to play some music, and I want you to let go of the tree now. And keeping your eyes closed, I want you to start to imagine your body as smoke. So begin to feel now your body as a wisp of smoke rising up, no longer grounded to the earth. Arms stay up. Let your hips be smoke. Let your fingertips be smoke. And just feel now that you have no ground. There's no tether. There's just the sensation of being completely free to blow wherever the wind wants to blow you, to move in whatever way. Let it feel good. And so let yourself move in a way that feels good. Just a few moments here. Let yourself now float into the air, imagining that a breeze can blow you ever so gently. Let your fingers feel good. Let your legs feel good, especially men. Let this feel good. Let it feel good to move your hips. Let it feel good. Nobody's watching. Let it feel good to let your arms float up into the sky. Let it feel good to be untethered, ungrounded. Good. Just another few moments now. Feel it. Just allow yourself, imagine yourself floating up higher and higher into the atmosphere, dissolving more and more into the sky, being more and more free. Arms up above your head, above your head. Good. Let your fingers express the freedom of your movement. There's no tether. You could float anywhere. You could float anywhere that felt good. And then slowly now, let yourself start to ground back down to the earth, like you can float back down to the earth. Keeping your eyes closed, let yourself land in the earth. Let yourself land in the earth. And feel yourself now as bamboo. You're grounded, but there's some sway in you. There's some sway in you. Just notice the difference between the two poles. And for this last moment, I want you to take this, it can be here for a minute, maybe 90 seconds. And I want you to really feel what it's like to be bamboo swaying. So again, you can bring your arms up, either heart level or above your head. And I want you to move really slowly. And trust the sensations in your body. And I want you to bring your awareness to the sensation. So maybe you feel your left hip opening as you sway to the left. Maybe you feel your fingertips opening. So slow it down even more, as if you are a breeze. You're being moved by a breeze, but bring your awareness now. Bring your awareness to the very slow movement. And for these last few breaths and these last few moments of movement, I want you to move in a way that frees the space you're in. So whatever that feels like to you, how would you move super slow, super aware, bringing your awareness to the movement? Don't let yourself think. No thought. Fuck thought. Just follow the feeling. What movement would free the space that you're in? What movement would bring freedom to the space? What movement would bring freedom to your life? And just let your body move in a way that brings freedom and also feels good. Another 30 seconds. Trust it, trust it. Don't let yourself think. Go into the sensation. Chest open, fingers wide, breath full. What movement frees this moment, but also feels good? And then slowly, slowly over the next 15 seconds, you can bring your arms back down to your side, feet straight up, straight ahead, chest lifted. And feel now the stillness in you, but also the sensation that's moving through you. Just take a moment now to feel stillness plus sensation. Good. And then you can go ahead and open your eyes. Come back and sit down and we'll close the call. Okay. So I want you to take some version of that. Maybe you want to do something a little different with yourself. But the essence of the practice is breath, movement, awareness. Breath, movement, awareness. So the slower you move, and you can do this at any point during the day for 1 minute, just slow down, breathe. What needs to move through my body, give it some space and move it. And it's beautiful merging of awareness and feeling. Hopefully you got some experience of that, okay? All right, thank you all. It's fun to be with you in the middle of the afternoon. Thank you everybody for showing up. And Nicolette, you have the details for the next move.
Yeah, so we've got another call next month. We'll reach out a week in advance again to let you know when the next community practice call is happening. And then a few other ways, if you want to continue to go deep with us, I'll also put some links in the chat. We have 3 masculine spots open for the Valentine's immersion. So we reopened our enrollment to create space for 3 more masculine spots to get our masculine feminine balance. So if you would like, if you feel inspired and want to dive into practice and you're a masculine practitioner this weekend, we will take you, and I will share in the chat the link so you can join us. We also have 2 6-month online programs, the Path of the Embodied Masculine and the Path of the Embodied Feminine. We're still accepting enrollment for those programs, which start in mid-March. And then we've also got our virtual workshop, which John mentioned, and you can join with a week free trial. So I'm going to put those links in the chat. And I'm also here if anyone has questions specifically about the programs, I can stay after for a few minutes and answer any of those questions. Like logistically questions. So I'll hang out. I'm going to put those links here, and then I'll start taking questions in a few minutes. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nicolette.
So
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Yay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your questions. I also put the link for Claire's Place Foundation if you'd like to donate to her. Just incredible, an incredible vision that woman had. So I put that link in there too if you'd like to donate on our behalf. But thank you all so much. It's just such a pleasure to be with you every month. And if you, I'm going to lower the hands now.
Nicolette, there's a question about when does Path of the Embodied Feminine and Masculine close registration?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's on this page. I think it's the 12th.
That's why I asked you.
Great. Jennifer put it. So March 12th. Thanks, Jen. Jennifer chimed in. If you have other questions and want to just ask them, you can raise your hand and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Let's see, I have a question about, oh, okay. So if you're in the virtual workshop, you can sign up. We have a virtual workshop discount. We have a virtual workshop discount page where you can access that. We'll be sending that information out basically with every content release every 2 weeks. However, nobody else can use your discount. So if you're in the virtual workshop, you can absolutely use your virtual workshop discount, but it's not transferable to a friend. And you can also email me. Someone could put my email address in the chat if you want to email me and get that virtual workshop discount page, because I don't have that off the top of my head right now. Let's see, a question about the teacher training details. Okay, so our plan is to get that webpage up today or tomorrow. So that should go up very soon, if not today or tomorrow. And we open enrollment March 15th. So yes, we do have our most advanced offering is it's called the teacher training, and it's a 3-year program, but you can do, if you want to do it for advanced practitioner training 1 year at a time, you can do that as well. And we open the application process to the public on March 15th, and the program starts June 22nd. So check out our website today or tomorrow because it will be up. Let's see.
Nick, Shannon has her hand up also.
Okay. Question about the 3 stages that John mentioned to the last person asking a question live. I don't have that off the top of my head, Maria. So if someone else knows what those were, go ahead and answer that. Oh, good. Great. Someone already put that in. Okay, great. Prerequisites for the teacher training. Right now, we don't have any listed on our page. If you apply and fill out all the things, we'll interview you. We'll see if you're a great fit. Really, like, you got to be ready to go in really damn deep. And that's the prerequisite. Okay, Shannon, I've got you. Go ahead and ask your question.
I looked the other day, so I didn't check before our call, but is there another scheduled feminine embodiment workshop yet?
Oh, just like a weekend workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
We don't have that yet, but our fingers are crossed for the fall.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So we're aiming for the fall, and we're aiming for a live event.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm new to all of this. Like, I've been following John Wineland on YouTube and stuff for years, but I don't know what y'all's practice is. I've just been joining these calls like last week. Last time was my first.
Great.
But this is this something that I could do from home, like Zoom style, or is it in person only type of thing?
If we do
like
in person,
yeah,
if we do in person, it'll be in person only.
Okay.
But if we do remotely, then yes, you could absolutely do it from home. And if we do it in person, it'll be a very small group. So
yeah.
But we'll for sure keep you posted.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so it looks like the conversation about the 3 stages is still going. Is the teacher training online? Okay, so the teacher training is a live and live in person and online program. So again, we're aiming as soon as possible to get that group in person. And that would be hopefully starting in July with the first in-person retreat. Again, like, all this is still as up in the air as everything is these days. But yeah, that is a combined online live and in-person live program, which is a little bit different than the 6-month programs, which I'll specify that for the 6-month programs, the Path of the Embodied Masculine and the Path of the Embodied Feminine, those we send a module out that there's videos to watch and practices and things. And then we have live calls that go with that as well. So there's modules that are self-guided. There's live calls with John and lead trainers. And then there's also small group cohort calls where you get with other cohorts of other practitioners in the program to work through practices together. Let's see if I'm answering. Okay, great. The question about the stages is still happening. Any other questions I love that you all stayed. Anything else I can answer? You're just enjoying the company, that's fine too. Looking for hands. Yeah, I miss you too, Fab. Any other virtual hands want to go up? And all right. I'll give it another minute or two. Thank you so much. I never know if it's Viv, Bev. How do you pronounce your name? Because I know you by your written name, but I don't know your pronunciation of your name. You'll have to, yeah.
Viv.
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 Okay, perfect. Thank you, Viv.
Nicolette.
So good to see you as always. So good to see you, Jules. And yeah, just all of you. It's always a joy. I love it's just our little crew, our community. And it just keeps growing. All right. So Deirdre, you have a question.
It's a bit of a statement and a question around discerning between the path of the embodied feminine that would start in March and go to August, or the three-year commitment to the teacher training. I'm squarely in the middle, and there's different reasons for each. And so, yeah, I'm really curious as to, having not attended any of John's work in person, although in sort of a council of folks that I bring some of this to, that I would say perhaps would be in third stage relations with me, that we share that level of care with one another. That they're sort of nudging towards level of practice would be go to the teacher training. And then there's some questions around 3 years. And so I just wonder if there's anything in hearing what I'm bringing up, if you would have a reflection back. Actually, maybe that's my question. Might you reflect back anything that you might be picking up in my question?
Yeah. So here's what's coming for me, and then we can dive in if any of this rings. So there's actually another offering too that's kind of in between the two, which is we've got these 6-month online programs. They are so perfect for anyone who hasn't dived deep with John over a period of time, or like have done a workshop or have kind of been interested. Like they are so perfect for that, because you will leave with really clear practices that you can take into your life. So it's a really great program for that. It's an excellent like foundational program. Then we have a program called, we have two. We have the Embodied Women's Relationship Immersion. We have the Embodied Men's Leadership Training. Those programs are 9 months, and they're going to start in the fall. And the next versions are going to start in the fall. And those are like the teacher training, live in person and live online programs. They're a deeper dive than what we would be doing with the path of the embodied masculine and path of the embodied feminine. And you're with a group for a long time. There's some live immersions, live in-person immersions. There's the online calls. And so there's that program. And then for the teacher training, you don't have to do it for all 3 years. You could join for a year and dive in for advanced training. So if you're ready, if we were to interview you and we're like, wow, you're totally a fit for this program, but you're like 3 years feels daunting, you can do the advanced practice training for a year, and there's a rolling enrollment. So if someone leaves after a year, we would take someone else in. So that, that's still possible. So those are sort of the ranges. if someone's coming into this, I don't know if this is you, Deirdre, but I'm just going to speak to this generally. If someone's coming into this and it's like, wow, I want to experience the work, I don't quite know. I think the path of the embodied feminine, path of the embodied masculine is a great first step. And then the next step would be the EWRI and EMLT. And then the teacher training would be a great step after that. Now, some, are ready to jump to the next already. But maybe one of those kind of rang more true for you after hearing that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That other option, starting in the fall, or the teacher training, that really helped a lot.
Great. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
I'm so glad. Yeah,
Yeah, perfect.
All right, Patricia.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm in Quebec, in Canada, so it's far away from you, I assume. So I was wondering about those programs where there's live. Is it all happening on the West Coast?
We vary. We tend to try to put at least one on the East Coast and usually a couple on the West Coast of the United States. We used to travel actually to Europe. We'd usually do one in Europe, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast to try to get a range, and everyone would travel to all of them. So again, it's still so there's still so much up in the air. We're definitely not traveling to Europe right now because we're all coming from the United States, the sort of core team. But it is tricky with Canadians, and we do have Canadians in our programs right now that are, there's definitely challenges right now with that. But yes, they are currently in the United States, and we're figuring out the balance of the East and West Coast.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, got a few other questions. Is the path of the embodied feminine closed? It is still open. It is still open for enrollment. When will the information about the teacher training be up on the website? Hopefully in the next day or two. We're planning on it being up today, but it just got to make sure that the final details are all in place and we've tested all the ins and outs and everything. Ted also responded to that. Can you dive into the teacher training without having done any of the other programs? Yes, you can. It's, having some embodiment practice or some deep inner work, something like that is necessary. But a lot of these people probably will be people who have been in some way teaching or guiding or doing deep work in themselves. But we really feel open, like our desire is to build a really powerful cohort of people who want to kind of clear and refine their vessel, deepen their own practice, and be able to transmit the most powerful teaching offering that can come through them. And we want to be able to cultivate that and support you in cultivating that through the feedback of the group. And so it's not necessarily that you are teaching what John is teaching. We want you to teach what you teach and to really find that through your refined vessel of your body or your, that's my best description of it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. I think that we're at the end. It's been a blessing to be with you, and we'll see you all next month.